Good afternoon. Welcome, everyone. Sincere thanks to the organizers of TEDxBend 2014 for inviting me to be the token old white woman on this year's slate of presenters. Don't get me wrong, I'll go with it. I'm not complaining. Certain privileges come with being old, such as I get props and notes. Anyway, aging is not so bad. I mean, I'm here to tell you, I got lucky at 65. Yes, I did. Eat your heart out. Well, okay, maybe not exactly what you're thinking. No, instead, on the occasion of my 65th, I got a free lifetime Forest Service park permit. When he handed it to me, the young, of course, young man in his crisp uniform and Smokey the Bear hat smiled and said, "The pass will never expire." Very funny, just one of the many perks that come with aging. Scary, that word, aging. How about hag, fossil, try crone? How could this have happened? No, I won't go to the land of Viagra and Metamucil. Well, maybe, right? And Save me from Act 3, the end stage, the ultimate finish line, the last half of life. During the first half of life, according to one of my favorite authors, James Hollis, we are appropriately concerned with the external. What does the world ask of me as partner, professional, parent? In the second half, the focus changes, becomes an inside job. What question do I answer with my life? Actually, regardless of your age, as far as I'm concerned, the sooner you start the second half of life, the better, as I think it asks the more important question. However, most avoid the second half like the plague, associating it with disease, decrepitude, and the big one, death. Death. But here's the thing. That Forest Service guy failed to take into account one important fact. It's not just the lifetime park permit that never expires. Neither do I. In some form, I don't expire. Woo, you're thinking, what is she smoking? Am I speaking in riddles, in rhizomes, in metaphor? Of course, what do you expect? I'm an author. I live in the land of metaphor. Metaphormosis. That's my motto. Change your metaphor, change your life. I've come to see my life, all of our lives, as part of a linked narrative, like the 80,000-year-old Pando colony of poplars in Utah, rhizoming their way to eternity. I'm but one small daisy in a long, infinite daisy chain. At this age, I'm amazed by how little I know, understand of life or what mind describes. And it's precisely that not knowing that excites me now. Sure, most days I'm like you. I thrash around thinking it's my story, I'm the author. But on good days, I see that the real deal is to be on the lookout for archetypal signs and mileposts that tell me where I am in the life story I was dispatched here to tell. Not one someone else or some institution tells me to live or my ego leads me to believe I'm authoring. How did I arrive at this perspective? Well, if we look at any of our lives, take mine for example. Growing up, educated in New England, working as a journalist, lots of travel, working in New York City, maybe too much fun. Then realizing I'd had it with New York City, Didn't know what else to do, so packed my bags, headed west, became the wife of a buckaroo. Some of you may not know just what all that term buckaroo means. Well, I'm here to tell you it's a lifetime sentence to jeans, jeans, jeans. It's barefoot and pregnant 3 times in a family way. It's riding, roping, bookkeeping, and putting up hay. And it's not all good news. Things went gunny sack between me and my old man. He hit the bars, I hit the road. I think you can understand why it's now or never. I ain't no heifer anymore. So first New England, then the ranching west, and then after 1 or 2 more personal and professional non sequiturs, I started a literary nonprofit, and now here I am talking to all of you about metaphormosis and life never ending. You can't make this shit up. I can't either, so who does? Who's writing these scripts? Each of us, according to Hollis, is part of a great unfolding. Something is living us more than we're living it. We don't create ourselves, we happen to ourselves. We don't make our story makes us. The world, as Muriel Rukeyser said, is not made of atoms, but of stories. We can't see the pattern that is our life or the pattern of the whole, but we must, on faith, believe it exists, fulfill our obligation to complete as elegantly as possible our small square of the cosmic quilt. As W.H. Auden wrote, we are lived by powers we pretend to understand. Or Robert Frost, the afternoon knows what the morning never suspected. As I've made my way through my life, over and again I've been confronted with challenges that demanded that this muse potato leave the couch of false comforts, false perceptions, metaphors, venture into uncharted territory. As David White observes, how do you know you're on the right path? Because it disappears, that's how. And now, as a woman of a certain age, that uncharted territory includes having the courage to look out across the inscrutable vastness of this endless narrative that I'm part of. I get that braving the unknown is for the young and the restless, but really, that's the assignment for us oldsters? What about kicking back, retirement? I love a play on that word I heard recently, refirement. That's what this is about. That's what this is about. Ongoing challenges are the least of it. I still get zits. And I still get to experience failure, doubt, and despair. Really, at this age, I don't get a break? In the United States, older people, and especially women, are vulnerable to getting high-centered on feelings of doubt and despair because, in addition to aching joints, replacement of body parts, loss of friends, family, fortunes, and figures, keep injecting Botox and filler and we'll put the embalmers out of business. We're repeatedly told by this culture that we don't matter. Go take a cruise, code for take a hike. The implication being that we're in the way, no longer a vibrant part of society, incapable of new or worthwhile ideas. At best, we're tolerated. At worst, avoided, seen as having a wasting disease that's catching. But regardless of age, at some point, we, all of us, feel doubtful, despairing, unworthy, like we're running in place. Why? One reason might be that we think we're in charge, and when things really do or really don't work out, we take all the credit or all the blame. Another related reason is we haven't caught on to the fact that a story is living through us, and we must make every effort to be in service to that telling. We forget that the source of the wound becomes the source of the divine, however you define divine. The grit and grime of hardship is just the beginning. It's the beginning of an alchemical process that creates the base matter, stay with me now, that ultimately becomes your personal gold, your unique contribution to the mono-myth. So what's holding you back? What false belief systems keep you running in place on the path of your life story? Here's a metaphor for you. Imagine your coattails snagged on a nail and see yourself trying to run out the door into your life. Unhook those coattails. Metaphormosis. Change your metaphor, change your life, get unstuck. Because when you do, once you do, you are no longer under the spell of the borrowed story of the cultural and temporal myths that boss you around. And you can return to the rewarding and hard work of fulfilling your obligation to the second, third, fourth, and fifth half of life, answering the question your life asks, completing your patch of the cosmic quilt. At some subconscious level, haven't we, all of us, always known we're part of a bigger question, a bigger answer, a bigger narrative? It explains why our dreams are filled with monsters, angels, why we, in our dreams, find ourselves stuck to the ground or flying free. These dreams tap into a fundamental, ancient, and eerily familiar aspect of ourselves. Cowardly lions, heartless tin men. Haven't we, in certain situations, needed some fairy dust, a magic lantern? And when it showed up, what form did it take? Could we ever have predicted? And what in the world leads anyone to believe he or she authored that outcome? What in the world makes anyone think this amazing cycle stops, I don't know, at 60, at death, or ever? If you're 40, I recommend you enter the second half of life as soon as possible. Start articulating the answer to the question your life is asking. Just for the fun of it, trade in your belief that life occurs between the metaphors of birth and death. Instead, be on the lookout for configurations of experience and intersections of time that point a different way. Accept the cosmic invitation to transcend and transform the ordinary into something that allows you to live beyond yourself. If you're over 55 and losing your voice, I say do not succumb to the cultural message. Time is not running out, if only because time itself is a metaphor. Metaphormosis. You have all the time you need, despite what they say would have us believe. The best is yet to be. The invitation in the second half of life is easily as expansive and exciting as the first. Do not succumb to the sidelining, the ghettoizing of old people, the premature burial, the cultural disdain, the finiting, the it's overing. We didn't choose our family of origin or native country. If you were born somewhere else, it would be a whole different message about aging. Which one is real? In 2012, I walked the centuries-old sacred route of the Camino de Santiago in Spain. After arriving at the Cathedral of Santiago and receiving my certificate of pilgrimage, I continued on, as the ancient pilgrims did, to the town of Finisterre, nestled on bluffs overlooking the Atlantic Ocean. The early day penitents named this town the end of the earth, finis end, terre, earth, because they believed those bluffs to be the end of the earth. They would retrieve a scallop shell, the emblem of the Camino, and return to their villages. With evidence they had stood on the brink, looked out across the vast unknowable. The world, as it turns out, is not flat. So I ask you, what false endings, what false limits of nature, of being, do we, all of us, subscribe to, believe in? Ladies and gentlemen, isn't it just possible there is no finish line? Metaphormosis. Change your metaphor, change your life.